Enfold Proactive Health Trust, Creating Safe Spaces, presents Demystifying Sexuality, a video series. How to mitigate the effect of disability on sexuality. Presented by Abha Ketarpal, President, Cross the Hurdles.
Have you ever gone up to a stranger in the street and asked them about their sex life? No, nobody does that. But when someone is seen in a wheelchair, people do not hesitate to think or hesitate to ask anything, even about their potential to form sexual relationships. This forbidden juxtaposition of disability and sex is all too familiar, and we really need to start opening up the conversation and breaking the boundaries. Sex and disability are not mutually exclusive, and like non disabled people, persons with disabilities have sexual urges, cravings, and fantasies that they desperately want to fulfill. Sex is a fundamental part of life, and there is nothing shameful or wrong about it. Causes: physical conditions. Disability can have an impact on sexuality. For instance, though amputation doesn't directly have an impact on functioning of sexual organs, but it definitely alters the desire for sexual activity due to body image issues and limitation of physical activities. Likewise, in cerebral palsy, spasticity and sensory loss can limit sexual activity. If a person is deaf, the difficulty in communicating may pose barriers to communicate desires or feelings. Societal misconceptions. In considering sexuality and disability, problems that exist more often reflect attitudinal barriers set up by our culture and accepted both by disabled and non disabled people, rather than actual physical limitations on sexual functioning. Societal misconceptions of disabled bodies being non normative, other, or deviant has somewhat shaped how sexuality of disabled people has been constructed as problematic under the public gaze. They are more vulnerable to bad sex relationships, which are considered to be exploitative and disempowering in different ways. Both sex and disability threaten to breach bodily boundaries that provoke widespread anxiety. Male sexual expression remains much more widely accepted than female sexual expression. Caregivers are found speaking about how to help their male members with disabilities to address their sexual needs, but that there is no little discussion about helping female with disabilities to do so or address their sexual needs. The net effect is that females with disabilities may face resistance when asking for help in sexual health services. There is desexualization of persons with disabilities, and the very thought of a lesbian or a gay person with disability is beyond comprehension by much of non-disabled population. All this results in prejudices and multiple forms of discrimination, neglect, and rejection of LGBTQI people with disabilities. Non disabled people may refuse to acknowledge the fact that people with disabilities have sexual feelings and desires. It is quite likely that people with disabilities grow up having a sheltered life and a total lack of privacy. Many may not get married and have children because of stereotypical gender based roles in the society. The prevalence of sexual violence against disabled is used as one of the justifications to negate any sexual possibilities in the guise of protection and safety, while the violence itself goes unaddressed. Lack of comprehensive sexuality education. Many people, including those with disabilities, receive little or no formal sexual health education, either in school or at home. They have the same rights as those without disabilities to learn about self, sexual expression, sexual identity, relationship, safety, and responsibility. They need reassurance that they have satisfying sexual relationships and practical guidance, along with being able to report sexual violence. Both disabled and non disabled people have had little or no exposure to this and have a narrow understanding of the topic. Lack of support. For a person living with a disability, it may be relatively be easier to arrange for help to brush their teeth, shower, get dressed, or eat a meal. But what about sexual needs? What happens when one needs help to have sex or to masturbate? Almost nothing is available within the social support field to protect and ensure that individuals who are living with a disability are able to express themselves sexually. Care providers usually lack a framework for providing sexual support services. Without clear guidelines and given the ongoing social taboos against discussing sexuality and disabilities, both attendants and the individual find themselves in situations where they feel uncomfortable, afraid, frustrated, sexually harassed, exploited, or abused. Stigma can lead individuals to internalize concepts of asexuality and may negatively impact confidence, desire, ability to find a partner while distorting one's overall sexual self concept. Lonely, attractive, undeserving. These are some of the feelings that arise from being excluded from sexual citizenship. Exclusion strikes at one's identity, undermining one's sense of self agency, self confidence, and leaving behind a sense of unbelongingness. Because of repression and suppression, the person is preventing from expressing sexuality. Sexual impulses may get linked with feelings of guilt or shame. Chastity becomes an imposed burden. This is unhealthy. This may lead to sexual depression or feelings of depression regarding one's sex life. Weakness of human body and muscle breakdown with diminished physical activities with age are natural. But when abstinence is involuntary, as in the case of disabled, the outcomes can be anger, self doubt, and frustration. All this can also steal one's sex drive and diminish the yearning to feel attractive. I'm a person with disability. I'm also an advocate for disability rights. This comes with its fair share of controversy, especially when I talk about the needs to recognize people with disabilities as sexual citizens. I fell in love and got married at the age of 45. After being in intimate relationship, we both, me and my husband, have found that trust, open-minded and honest communication are fundamental to our bonding. As a person with disability, when I can adapt in every aspect of my life, I could also adapt inside my bedroom. My disability has never made my intimate moments or any less valid or enjoyable. My disability is never a problem as my husband and I have found ways which work best for us and enjoy trying new things. My disability has led me to appreciate creativity and exploring sex in different ways. It may be unorthodox, but it can be a lot of fun experimenting. Also, sometimes the disability can be an advantage, especially it makes me more flexible and even bolder. We have been able to challenge our ideas and beliefs about sexuality, and it has given us power to develop new ways to tell our sexual story. I have realized that counseling has great importance in providing validation that each of us is a unique sexual being. Listening to a person describes his or her sexual concern conveys a message of acknowledgement that the person is indeed a sexual being. Most of my disabled clients do not ask complicated questions about the physiology of their disability when in sexual counseling. They often know more about their bodies than health professionals do. Neither they inquire about mechanics of sex. Usually they do ask for validation of feelings like, will I ever find someone who will consider me attractive? Or is it really be possible to be a sexual person if I can't feel my genitals? Disabled counselors who are skilled in providing validation, reassurance, and encouragement for sexual exploration are often seen by such clients as role models who have dealt positively with such questions in their own lives. The counseling certainly does not solve all the issues, but it can be an important start in exploring one's own sexuality. It can be a very powerful and positive experience to finally entrust the information and feelings to someone and still be accepted. People are attracted to other for various reasons. It could be their looks, their intellect, their personality, or a variety of things. And that doesn't stop because we use wheels instead of legs. One may try different positions, use cushions, fold towels, use pillow under hips, find whatever way works best for the situation. One may engage in fantasies, role play, get creative, anything a non disabled person may want to do. A disabled person will too. It's one of the easiest way to spice up things, regardless of physical limitations. Taking the time to appreciate each other's bodies by touching, kissing, stroking, and massaging can really heat the things up. This is one area of sex where going slow can be huge benefit rather than being athletic. I encourage others to think about the way they relate to their bodies, their internal dialogue about sex, and how they express their sexual needs. The more self acceptance one has about every stitch mark, every scar, every deformity, the more engaged one's sexual experience and sexual satisfaction would be. A disability might reduce some physical sensations, but we can try to break the vicious circle of suppression, depression, and sexual depression. By focusing on what physical sensations we have, we can adopt a more specific definition of sex. What all can be done? Providing more examples of sexuality, aging, and disability in media and in education can help to provide a more comprehensive sexuality education. Beauty, grooming, self care, and wellness therapy is still rarely included among the forms of support provided to persons with disabilities, even though they can contribute to growing self esteem and improving general self image, self confidence, and relation with others. Physical accessibility of such wellness therapy centers need to be taken care of. There is an absence of peer communities where disabled people can express and explore their sexual interest without hesitation and without fear of being judged. Peer leaders may facilitate discussions and create safe spaces and communities where people can talk about their experiences, discuss what does work and what does not, and learn what they can do to integrate sexual health into their work and lives. Diagnosis doesn't dictate sexual functioning. Intimacy includes anything from cooking a romantic meal to assistance with shopping for sexual materials like sex toys, vibrators, legal adult, erotic material, etc., to assistance with positioning for sexual activities. Therefore, it is critical that parents, educationalists, and health and social care professionals are aware and appropriately equipped with knowledge and resources to formally educate disabled young people about sexuality and well being on par to their non disabled peer. Enabling persons with disabilities to realize their sexual and reproductive health and rights, including their ability to prevent sexual abuse, early and unintended pregnancy, HIV, and other sexually transmitted infections will in turn help to ensure that other rights are realized, such as their right to education, economic opportunities, financial independence, and social empowerment. People with disabilities be recognized as sexual citizens. Treat them in age appropriate way, regardless of physical and mental capacity when it comes to biological needs like sex and need for intimacy. Provide relevant information not just to the person with disability but also to their caregivers and parents. Place their individual needs at the center of care and support. Make opportunities for their socializing. Train them to build relationship without fear, guilt, or shame. Do not be scared to be intimate with them. Ensure that they are not vulnerable to risk or harm. Help them to talk to family members, peer groups, professionals without being judged. Encourage them to discuss sexuality. Uphold their privacy, dignity, and confidentiality. Sexual rights are prerequisite to enable people to achieve the highest attainable standard of sexual health. The Sustainable Development Goals include several goals and targets related to sexual and reproductive health and rights, such as SDG 3 on health and SDG 5 on gender equality. Persons with disabilities need to know that there are endless opportunities out there that are open to them. Such just as sexuality is an integral part of human life, so is love. At our very core, most humans want to be loved and accepted. Persons with disabilities can be supported in an appropriate manner to live and realize their sexual rights with safety and dignity. We all need to remember that everyone does not experience sexuality in the same way. Being aware of these differences helps cater to individual needs and provide effective services to the people.
This video is part of a series of videos and learning content aimed at addressing gender-based violence. These videos provide practitioner perspectives by professionals and experts in the field. We hope these videos generate further discussions with peers, family members, and teachers, encourage curiosity, and seed further research ideas in these domains. We gratefully acknowledge the following for their support: Gaurav Krishna, Keshav Rajendran, Ishwar Shankar, Mohan Ram, Clockwork Captions, Enfold Consultants, Ford Foundation. The copyright and other intellectual property rights in respect of this video belong exclusively to Enfold Proactive Health Trust, Enfold. Enfold licenses this video under the terms of Creative Commons License CC BY-NC-ND 4.0, the details of which can be found at https://creativecommonlicense.org/licenses/by-NC-ND/4.0/. Any use or reproduction of this video contrary to or in violation of the terms of the aforesaid Creative Commons license will be illegal, and Enfold reserves the right to take suitable action in respect thereof. Enfold also reserves the right to modify, terminate, or revoke the license granted as aforesaid, or otherwise exercise any and all rights in respect of its intellectual property without further notice, and the same shall be binding on the licensee or user or reader thereof. June 2021. Enfold Proactive Health Trust. www.enfoldindia.org. Contact info@enfoldindia.org. +91 99 000 94251. www.enfoldindia.org.